We are going live now. Thanks for everybody for joining. Drop your questions in the chat. Any sort of questions you have on traveling around Europe, around Italy. I'm currently streaming from here in Florence, Italy, just watching the latest video finish up. I hope you enjoyed it. It's how to travel by the smaller trains within Italy, and had a lot of fun filming that. That was this local train I took from Florence to Pisa to catch a flight from Pisa to Dublin. And those trains can be sort of tricky because more often than not, compared to the high-speed trains, they can be late, delayed. In the winter, they can be cold. In the summertime, they can be extremely hot as well. So you have to just kind of roll with the punches on those smaller trains. The great thing is that you're free to move around. There's no reserved seats or anything like that on those smaller trains. David, thank you for joining. Glad to have Vista Cycling in here on the chat. We're talking about trains. We're talking about traveling, all sorts of good stuff like that today. Food, anything you want, just drop your questions in. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. It's late afternoon here in Italy, and it's been a great day out there. Just, that spring turning into summertime weather, and getting out there, having some great lunch today, enjoying all the people out there in the squares. Local train travel, it's a lot more difficult than high-speed train travel because you don't have assigned seats, so you got to get on there. Sometimes the individual cars are packed, and so you got to move from car to car and find a car that has an empty seat, that has the proper heating or air conditioning. Again, in the summertime, a lot of those cars are not air conditioned. Lori, thanks for joining. And there you go. We're in Italy, so I'm getting some information now from David that there's a train strike tomorrow. And in Italian, the word you never want to hear is sciopero. That means strike. So apparently in Italy, there's a potential of transportation strike tomorrow. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and I'll get to them. We're talking train travel. We're talking local train travel, flights, anything you need to know around Europe and Italy. This is one of my first lives here on the channel, and I just thought I would pop in after that premiere of the latest video about traveling by local trains within Italy. If you have any horror stories traveling by train, let me know. I remember one time I was taking the train from Lake Como down to Milan, and I had to take another train from Milan to Rome, and I had this big suitcase on wheels, and I put it above me, above the seat and that rack up on top. And then I got off the train to switch in Milan from the Milan train to the Rome train. And I was getting on the Rome train when I realized I didn't have my luggage with me, and I left it on the train back behind. So I had to run back to that train, and that train was just about ready to take off, and they stopped the train and let me get on the train to get my luggage. So then I could then run back to that train, the high-speed train between Milan and Rome, to get that train. That was probably 10 years ago. So you got to always keep an eye on your luggage when you're traveling on those trains. The high-speed trains are the best way to go in Italy. The local trains, Lori, not as nice, and especially the bathrooms. And I kind of took you inside the bathroom there on that local train in that video that just dropped. And they're not as pretty at all. On the high-speed trains, everything's so much nicer, and it's just such a great way to travel. Also, if you're in Europe, taking the train is so much nicer compared to flying, because you don't have to do all the security, luggage check, and you just pop up there, you get on the train, and you can move about when the train's traveling around. Oftentimes they'll have the food carts as well, and you can go to a certain car on the train, and there's a little bar. Sometimes there'll even be a restaurant. I've dined on those trains before. An upcoming video I did that I have is I'll be taking a high-speed train from here to Rome on Trenitalia, and then taking the Italo train back from Rome to Florence, and comparing the two. and doing the executive class on both of those. So Lori, David, anyone, just drop your questions in. And what high-speed trains have you taken? What's been your best train experiences out there? Because you can have some good ones or you can have some bad ones. And we had a lot of questions on that last train video about validating your ticket, when to do it, and where to do it before you get on a train. Now, with the high-speed trains, you don't need to validate your tickets, I think, ever. Typically, with the high-speed train, you're booking those for a certain time at a certain seat. So if you're not on the train, you're not on it, and the ticket's no longer valid. If you're on the train, then it's valid. The ticket says that time and the date. Now, local trains, you buy a ticket for certain kilometer distance. So if I buy a 50-kilometer ticket, that ticket's good for as long as you want. But before you get on the train, you have to stamp it at these little machines. You put it in the machine, stamp it. In fact, you saw me do it on that last video that just went, and you'll hear it zzz, and it'll imprint a date and time on there, and then you get on the train. So it shows that you just stamped that ticket, and the train travel time now starts from the date on that ticket. So they know that you need to use the ticket at that point, and not doing the printing on the ticket when you're on the train essentially means you don't have a ticket, and you can and you will be fined. It happened to me once when I was trying to game the system when I was when I was new to Italy, and I was still trying to just save every little euro I had so I could spend my extra euros on drinks at the local bar, the spritz. Yeah, the platform. When David's got a good question about getting to the platform, how early? Good question, David. You want to get to the platform ideally like 5 minutes before the train is due to arrive to the platform, and the trains usually arrive to the platform around 10 minutes before the departure time of the train. Now, you can leave it to the last minute, and I've done that quite a bit. You can usually run up and jump on the train while the doors are still closing. So you can get up to the train with like 2 minutes to go and jump on the train. Now, if you're running late, I suggest getting up to the train and jumping on the first car available. But yeah, get to the platform with plenty of amount of time so you're not running to the train as I often do, because I get a cappuccino to take away from the little coffee bar. I'm holding that in one hand, I'm pulling my bag in the other, and then the next thing you know, I'm running with both of those, and it's not a great sight. And when the train's pulling up to the station, you want to be ready to get off the train as too, because I've had some disasters too where I've just been looking at my smartphone or not paying attention, and the train pulls up to the station and it's about ready to leave to go to the next station, and you realize and you got to get off that train. And I've had it one time where the guy was there with the door. He opened the door for me while the train was just starting to move again to take off, and he let me jump off the train as the train was moving. And my girlfriend with me at the time was there, and she was going to jump off too. And then the train at that point was starting to move at a faster pace, and she didn't want to jump off. And so I jumped off. I think I was at the train station in Monza, which is north of Milan, and she didn't. And she was still on the train as it went all the way down, I think, to Milan. And so we had to hook up later by telephone and meet up in another train station. So yeah, a lot of good travel stories can happen when you're traveling by train. But yeah, that might have been the end of the relationship. She could have thought that I should have jumped and left her there on the train. I should have just jerked her by the hand, and we could have jumped together. So pay attention with the train travelings. But with train traveling in Europe, the great thing is you can be a lot more flexible, because definitely, like if you miss your stop on a flight or something like that, they're not going to let you jump off the flight. So that's the fun thing about traveling by train in Italy and in Europe as well. I've done some overnight sleeper trains as well. and those can be good and bad. They're fun for the adventure, and it kind of gets you traveling across Europe on the cheap. If anybody of you've ever done something like that, let me know your stories in the comments as well on traveling by train overnight, if you've ever done that. I had a question on the last video about someone saying, make sure to pay attention because the different platforms at the train station, often at the big train stations, at the extremities at one, or like in Florence, the last platform is 16. They'll divide those platforms into like platform east and platform west. And so if you have platform 1, it could be platform 1A or platform 1B. So you want to check out that and pay attention specifically as to which train you're getting on before you board the train. If it's a 1A or 1B, or sometimes it could be 1 east or 1 west. So pay attention, and that's why you want to get to the platform a little bit early to get there and ask questions to some of the attendants that are there. They're super friendly, and oftentimes they'll speak English as well, of course, as Italian. Yeah, again, people mentioned the word convalidare. That means validate your ticket. I had a question, David asking, Italo or Trenitalia? My preferred train, and I get a lot of pushback on this, but my preferred train company is Trenitalia, simply because they offer more trains and more availability, so much more options on times of day when you can travel. Italo's come in and they're offering low cost, high speed train tickets. So that's great if you want to travel around, try to save a few bucks, but you got to remember, kind of like some of these low cost airlines like Ryanair, oftentimes to get those low cost tickets for traveling by train, you have to go early in the morning or late at night. And I find that the ticketing app and the ticketing methods that Italo has is not as great as Trenitalia. However, a very good thing about the trains is that they've been privatized in the sense, and competition's been open up, so other companies can come in and compete, and helps drive down the prices of trains here in Italy, and also other countries in Europe as well. Much needed. A little bit of whiskey in here. Yeah, Lori has a question. I arrive early asking questions is a good thing when going solo and in a new area and in Europe. Yeah, so true. So true. And give yourself always plenty of time. For example, on Tuesday, I'm flying to Bilbao in Spain. My flight's at noon, so okay, I don't need to be there at the airport until 10 o'clock, say 2 hours before my flight. And I don't have any check-in bags. All I have is a carry-on, so I could really leave it a lot later. However, I'm going to skip breakfast here at home. Just go to the airport, have breakfast, and use it as opportunity to decompress and just focus on work. Get there early and get some work done. Also helps I have lounge access. But doing so, you really give yourself that time buffer in case anything goes wrong. And points if you can guess what's in that tumbler. David Garrett, I'm not going to let you know. Yeah, so it's always a good idea when you're traveling alone. Lori, what areas in Europe have you been to? You mentioned that you missed Italy, so what areas have you been to? And no, it's not cold brew, David. However, it is getting to that season now of making cold brew, so I want to do that. Cold brew is going to be happening sometime soon. I have some Colombian beans that I'm using right now, so I'd love to make some cold brew with that. And I'll probably be having some cold brew on tap here soon. So no, it's not cold brew in this tumbler here. Yeah, what countries have you traveled to within Europe? Which ones are your preferred countries to travel within? Let me know in the comments which country in Europe do you think is the best for traveling alone, solo as well? And maybe which countries didn't go as you'd hope for when you booked your tickets? I made a video about traveling in Spain, and I think I do love Italy, but I think Spain is the best for traveling. It's the best country for traveling. Hey, Peter, thanks for joining in. I love all the comments that you always drop on the videos. David, again, keep guessing on what's in the tumbler. And Lori, thanks for your questions as well. Peter, I'll get to your question here in a second. Spain is great for traveling because it's cheap. The weather's good. It's a big country, so you have a lot of options from the north up in Galicia, the Basque country, which is where I'm going on Tuesday, Bilbao, San Sebastian, down in the south, Andalusia, and the food is great, just like in Italy. Italy wins on the food, but Spain is right up there. Both have great wine. Spain has some really good wines. Spain is super diverse. The landscape, it reminds me a lot in many places in the United States. It's also super fun to drive. No, David, it is not grappa in this. It is super fun to drive around Spain. Just wide open roads, no stress. The conditions of the roads are great. Not like here in Italy, they're very bad. And the people are super friendly. Late nights, which is great for when you're a tourist. You can go drink and eat all night. Also early in the morning as well. There's the whole tapas scene as well. Peter, let's get to the question. So Peter has a question. We have train tickets that are paid already for Rome to Florence in July. Hey, Peter, great. It's going to be good to have you here in Italy in July. Tickets on the app, on the phone. Do we need to validate the tickets when we travel? Okay, yeah. And Joe, thanks for joining the discussion as well. I'm going to get to your question here in a minute. And we're also doing a little guess what's inside the tumbler here as well. Peter, no. So when you buy those high-speed tickets and you buy them online for a specific time and you have an assigned seat, that means you don't need to validate your ticket when you're at the train station. And again, the validation of tickets are for the physical tickets. And the reason of validation is for those tickets that you buy that have a time not specified on the ticket. So you need to stamp it with the time before you get on the train to show that that's the time when you're traveling. So if you're buying a ticket that already has the time and the day, the seat confirmed, then you don't need to validate the ticket. So, and always in doubt, Peter, like Lori says, get in there early. In doubt, get there early. Speak to one of the attendants who are around. They're super friendly there. The train station, I was just there 2 days ago, asking some questions at Italo and Trenitalia about this new video idea that I have coming up. I'm going to be comparing the two trains. They're super friendly down there. The train stations are a lot more people in there. So give yourself time also for that because the crowds are there. At the train stations, you can find some great restaurants, some great little coffee shops. So you have every reason to get there early. The prices aren't jacked up like you'd see in an airport as well. So really get into the train station vibe and embrace it and have fun and pay the extra money on those high-speed trains and go business, or which is what I'm going to do for this video idea. I'm going to compare the executive class of Trenitalia to, I think, what they call the Club Salotto class on the train Italo, and let you guys know which train I think is better, and just have a lot of fun doing so, as you often see on my videos. Joe, do I prefer Prosecco or Cava? Straight up answer is Prosecco. I really enjoy Prosecco. Hopefully I'm getting the pronunciation of the R correct. Prosecco. Great sparkling. I prefer Prosecco over Champagne because I find Champagne just way too dry. Prosecco, yeah, it's dry, but not on the Champagne level. Obviously, it depends upon the producer of the Prosecco. For those of you who don't know, the Prosecco is up from the Veneto region, with Verona, Venice, and such. And specifically, centered around this little town called Valdobbiadene. And I'm not sure if there's some great documentaries out there about Prosecco or not. There should be. There's some good stuff, videos out there, documentary films on the Bordeaux region that I've seen that are really good. But I don't mind a glass of cava every now and then, Joe. So, Joe, what's your preferred drink? Let me know in the comment. Peter, no problem. Yes, you made a good decision. Travel business class. Throw down the extra coins if you can when booking train tickets, because traveling over here from Europe, Peter, where are you from? Traveling over here from Europe, if you're coming from the United States, specifically, Italy is a bargain. Prices, are not, we have inflation here, but it's not the same amount of expenses and costs that you'll encounter when traveling through the United States, which I know Vista Cycling is going to be doing this summer in July in California. So if you can, just spend the extra bit of money and go business class on the trains, and just live it up everywhere, really, at the restaurants as well. Order the first, second course. I got a video coming out next week on the eating in Italian restaurants. I'm going to talk about each course, the antipasto, the contorno. So really, when taking a train, it doesn't cost that extra money to go business, and also you get bigger seats in there. You get the benvenuto, so it's like a welcoming drink. They also come by with some coffee. They offer you free coffee, some sweet or savory snacks. If you go the executive class, it's this little car. It's a separate car with only 7 seats. So if you can imagine the space in there, and each seat's like a proper lazy boy that you can recline in as well. How does the audio sound on this? How does the video look? Because this is my first time to try to go live, and it was really kind of last minute. I had some time this Sunday. Much cheaper than traveling by train with spending those pounds with the Kings face on them, and England, David. Thank you, David. Glad to hear the audio is good. Yeah, you're in England, Peter. Okay. Yeah. David's from England as well. Traveling in England is definitely expensive. I think the last time I was there was when I went up to Yorkshire, when Jim Ratcliffe, your country's richest man, I met him. He was launching the new team, Ineos, his cycling team. We met at a little I don't know, what do you call those little restaurants in hotels out in the countryside. And they had a presentation there. I was able to meet the man himself, Jim Ratcliffe, multi-billionaire due to plastics and such. But yeah, I love traveling. That was like country number 40 for me. I'm now up to country number 50. Japan was my last country to add to that list of new countries. Countries number 50. And also in Japan, I had the Ashai beer for sure, and went in on all those plates of ramen. Drop your questions in the comments. Again, join in on the live chat here. We're talking about traveling, all things traveling, specifically your questions for in Europe. If you have any other questions on any sorts of traveling or restaurants, any recommendations, hit me up in the comment section, and I'm trying to get to all your questions as well. Definitely traveling in Italy, you'll find, is super cheap. And the price of Prosecco is expensive in the US. Joe, when I was there about 5 years ago for Christmas, we really into making spritz at Christmas time. So I brought over a few bottles of Aperol, and my brother-in-law and we went to a store to try to buy some Prosecco. We were able to buy some Prosecco, but you can't find the great quality of Prosecco that you can here, and then you really pay for a bottle of Prosecco in the United States. I think it probably starts at $20 and goes on up. I don't remember. But yeah, and it's not Prosecco in here. So let's, if people are talking about using the travel apps for trains, one thing I want to talk about your favorite travel app, because my favorite travel app is one that I've been using for years. I can store my credit card, I can store my frequent flyer information in it. It automatically syncs with my email inbox. So every time I purchase a plane or train ticket, it syncs with that information in my Gmail or my email inbox, and it updates my app with all the travel information. So it's called AwardWallet, and it's one of those classic travel websites. They have an app as well. And it's really great for keeping yourself organized, because in addition to the flights or train tickets, it also puts your hotels in there, it puts your Airbnbs in there. A friend and I are planning a man's vacation at the end of May in Girona, near Barcelona in Spain. We're talking about Spain again, Joe. And yeah, I had a 2-night stay in Girona, and I added a 3rd night to it. Already that 2-night information was in there, and I'll show you briefly there. I don't want to give away any of my personal information, but already the 2-night stay was in there. As soon as I made the update on that 3rd night of Airbnb in this travel app, it already put that in there. So you can see, here's my upcoming travels, some flights, some hotels, and I have some busy traveling coming up, but it organizes everything in there, which brings me to another story about traveling in Greece and missing a flight. And that was a disaster. But this app is called, and I'm not paid by them, that I should be. It's called AwardWallet. Let me know if any of you are using any kind of travel organization apps. AwardWallet works really well and kind of organizes all your tickets and hotel reservations in one place, and it stores your frequent flyer and other sorts of information as well. The more in advance you buy your train tickets, the more money you save, Peter. That is true. You don't save a ton of money. It's not like plane tickets, and the prices don't go up too much the day before, the day of, when buying a train ticket, but there are some savings to be had if you can do it in advance. But again, the great thing about train travel is that you can usually buy a ticket at the last minute on a train, and then just travel right away. You don't have to think. And I know, Peter, you already booked some tickets for your trip in July, which is that's a long way out to be booking train tickets. If I'm on a high-speed train, if I need to book a ticket and I want to save a little bit of money, I'll book a week out, really. Even in the high season, a week out's usually plenty, or 2 weeks out. Lori, what's that one app that you have? Is it called One App? Which app do you use that holds all your travel information? So my story on traveling in Greece and missing a flight, and I wasn't using a travel organization app. I had, usually, so my travel plans also get synced up in my Google Calendar. So I usually go off of that when, I'll get alerts, and I see on my calendar all my flights at 5 p.m. on Thursday. So I know the flight time. So I was with a girlfriend in Greece. We were on vacation. We were there for a week. We were on the island of Mykonos. We weren't staying in Mykonos a week. We were staying, I think, in Paros or Naxos. We had one night in Mykonos for a flight the next day out of Mykonos back to, I think it was Bergamo in Italy. And I saw our flight was at 5 p.m. I was like, all right, our flight's at 5 p.m. We got to the airport, at 3 p.m. And then somehow on my Google Calendar app, the synchronization and the time zones was off. So we got to the airport and the plane had already left. It was like it was off by 2 hours. So we got to the airport right when the plane was leaving, and you tried to get on the plane, but there was no way. and there was no way they'd let us on that. Great, Lori. Yeah, the Award Wallet app is a really good app to use for organizing your travel needs. And they have a website, which is how they started, and they have the app as well. So they wouldn't let us get on the flight, and it was kind of a disaster. Girlfriend was stressed and upset with me. As you can imagine, traveling with me might be stressful and upsetting if you see how much I travel and how fast I travel. What was bad for me is after I arrived in Bergamo, I lived up near Lake Como in that time. I arrived in Bergamo. The next day, I had a flight from the Milan airport to go to Madrid in Spain because I had to go to an event there in Spain. So I needed to get on a flight back to Italy so I could get that flight the next day to Spain. And so we went into panic station. We went to a nearby coffee shop away from the airport because we didn't have mobile internet on our telephones. We had to get onto the Wi-Fi. We started trying to figure out how to buy another ticket. We were able to get a ticket that day to Verona, flying out of Mykonos to get to Verona. And we flew to Verona, and from there we rented a car. And I think I got home at midnight in where I was in Lake Como. And the next morning, got my bag, went down to Milan, and got on a flight to Madrid to travel around Spain. Everything was good. The girlfriend didn't travel with me to Spain, and also she didn't remain with me much longer after that as well. So, but we did. You got to be flexible when you're traveling, and that is like one solid piece of advice: is be flexible, but also realize that these things when you're traveling also open you up to meeting new people and just learning new things. You learn from all these mistakes. Sound and vision perfect. That's great. Thank you, Peter, also for dropping in and letting me know about that. Again, hit me up with more questions. Drop some, hit that little emoji thing down below the chat. Let me know you're loving this stream. And yeah, it's great to have you guys in here. We're talking about all things traveling, anything you need to know. With my years of experience of traveling, 50 countries and counting so far. I'm already thinking of how to add a lot of new countries to my list. And I'll be doing hopefully one trip this year to Vienna, hit up some countries, Poland, Czech Republic, around that area, hit up 3 new countries, Hungary as well. And then another trip this winter coming up. I think I'm going to go back down to Southeast Asia and hit up countries I haven't been to, Laos, Indonesia, some of those countries, maybe go back to Vietnam, and of course go back to Thailand as well. Yeah, Peter, the more in advance you can buy them, you save a little bit of money. That's right. Peter, did you go Trenitalia or Italo on your train ticket? And Peter, is this your first time to be coming to Italy? In Rome, Peter's got a restaurant recommendation. It's near Santa Maria Maggiore called Mela d'Alloro. Wonderful little restaurant. Lots of locals use it. Yeah, Peter, hit me up. On some of my channels. You can just email me, Gregor@gregorBrown.com, and I'll send you a few different I have a list of restaurant recommendations for Rome that I've curated over the years that I'll share with you. So shoot me an email, Gregor@gregorBrown.com, or direct message me on Twitter, @GregorBrown. And I'll share with you that list that I have. Yeah, I've never. So have you ever been to Vienna? Have you ever been to Austria? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk a little bit about Austria. And Lori said that she loves the city of Vienna. I haven't been to Vienna. I've been to the airport. I haven't been to Vienna. I've been to Austria a couple times near the border with Italy. Innsbruck. I've been to Innsbruck. And, right down there in the south, also, they love their spritz. They love their spritz. I remember slamming quite a few spritz there when I was in Austria. I don't drink spritz too much now. There's so much sugar in the Aperol. But they do love their spritz. Mr. Mike, thank you for joining the conversation. let's talk about exchanging money right after I finish up the Austria conversation. Wow. I don't know how long I've been going here on this live, but 35 minutes we're into it. Maybe I'll wrap it up after 50 minutes. Peter, yeah, Trenitalia, Frecciarossa, the Trenitalia. Yeah, like I said, I prefer Trenitalia over Italo. So all the Italo people can come at me with the hate. Austria, I made a video on my 50 countries that I visited, rapid fire, where I went like 15, 20 seconds on each country, commenting on each one. So check out that video on my channel. I thought it was kind of fun. It didn't perform that well, but I went through all 50 countries that I've ever visited. And I wasn't vlogging, obviously, during all that time, like when I went to Canada. So I had to dig up a lot of old photos. Excuse me, I had to dig up a lot of old photos to use for that video. And it was really fun. Austria was probably number one, Australia on the list. So yeah, Vienna, super cool. In the winter, during the winter markets heading into Christmas, I've heard great things. Obviously, with the history, with so many inventors and so much music going on there, so much is happening in Vienna. It's like really kind of a crossroads for a lot of intellectuals, and a lot to check out there in terms of the coffee shop culture as well. In the summertime, of course, in those areas, it's beautiful. So I hope to like plan a little sneak over to Vienna for a little road trip, hit up Poland, hit up Hungary, Czech Republic. So I could add, I've already been to Austria, so I'd add like Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic. I'd be able to add 3 more countries on my list. Yeah, Canada is definitely good for skiing. I used to go up to Victoria, British Columbia, Vancouver a few different times when I lived up in the northwest of the United States. I lived in Portland, Oregon for a few years. Marco Polo and Ruth, thank you for joining in on the chat. Mr. Mike, let's get to your question. Mela de Lora, golden apple. Yeah, that means golden apple, David Garrett. Yes, I have some. Peter, hit me up. I'll get you those restaurant recommendations. I've been meaning to put together a PDF and put that out on my Teespring store, where you can already buy my Italy guide. A little plug for that. If you want to buy my travel Italy guide, help support me and really get like a good PDF that you can have offline in your pocket when you're traveling. Yeah, so talking about cash and where you get Italy, Marco Polo kind of hit in on that. Marco Polo, where do you live? And Mr. Mike, where do you live? Where are you guys coming in from on this chat? Let me know. Mr. Mike, so to answer your question, is kind of what Marco Polo is saying. What's the best? So Mike has a question. Where's the best place to exchange money? And Mr. Mike, great name. My neighbor growing up was Mike. I call him Mayor Mike now. He's now the mayor of the town I grew up in. What's the best place to exchange money? Last time I was there, I think you're talking about Italy. Last time you were here in Italy, found very bad exchange rates. Bank ATMs change huge fees. So, Thailand is easy to get good exchange rates. Italy, not so easy. Yeah. So some advice also for Thailand and Italy and all around. So yeah, I'm from the United States. I'm American citizen, as well as also have double citizenship. I'm also Italian. But I luckily, because I'm from the US, I'm able to have a US credit card and bank called Capital One. They have a great credit card. I should really get affiliate on this. But zero bank fees anywhere in the world on their withdrawals from their bank card. So it's great. It's a great card to have if you're traveling a lot. And if you're from the US, I suggest you go with the, I think it's called Capital 360 or Capital One 360. So if you can, open up one of those bank accounts. I really love it. I'm so happy I switched. So they don't charge fees. And so my advice, like Marco Polo was saying, when you're traveling to a new country, and this is what I do, I always, when I arrive at the airport, I always take my bank card, that Capital One card, or any bank card I have, and pull out cash, even if there's a fee. So the fees you're going to pay, yeah, you're right, Mr. Mike. You're going to get hit with some fees if you don't pay attention. You're going to get hit with a fee on the bank machine. You can't change that. And it's always it's usually a fixed fee. I think always a fixed fee. So you're better off pulling more cash out at once, because if you withdraw small sums each time, you're going to get hit with that same like $2 fee each time. But if you have a credit card like Capital One that doesn't have foreign transaction fees, you don't get that fee. So the only fee you're getting is the ATM bank machine fee. So I hardly ever use the exchange booths at the airport. I have a good story about Argentina. There's another country that starts with A. Marco Polo says, I usually don't take cash to Italy. I withdraw euros from the bank there. I agree. That's what I would do. If you can from your country before you travel, if you want to have some cash before you travel. My brother-in-law and my sister came over to Ireland recently, and they, I think, brought some euro from their U.S. account before they came over. If you're not going to get charged massive exchange rates, fees on that from your home bank, then go for it. Get some euro. The U.S. banks and most banks around the world usually have euro at the big bank branch, so you can get some euro before you travel. Great advice there, Marco Polo and Ruth. I'm not sure which one of you is writing. Lori says, I just got back from being in Turkey. The ATMs all ripped you up with the rate. I find that, man, Turkey, talking about a country, I find in Turkey you have to really be careful, because I really felt there that everybody wanted to rip me off there. Maybe it was just Istanbul, but also we were down along the coast on the Black Sea too. Lori, where did you travel within Turkey? I got another great story there from Turkey. Hold on one second. Get another little sip of this vodka. It's not vodka. Italian banks charge fees. Yeah, Italian banks will have Italian bank account. They charge you so many fees. David and I have talked about that quite a bit. So let's get to the Argentine story, and then I'll tell you my story on Turkey, Lori. And everybody, thanks for joining in. People are, yeah, David, you got it. It's water. That's what's in the tumbler. I got to get a sponsor. I'm going to put out my own merch here soon. So if you have any ideas on merch, let me know. I got a store over there at to my Teespring store. You see it at the bottom of each video. I'm going to put out my own tumbler probably. It's water in here. Argentina. So they're not such a crazy story. Well, a couple stories there. One is like when I took cash over there, and a guy I knew is Italian who also has Argentine connections. He was there, and the first day I exchanged money at an ATM or pulled out local cash. He says, "Oh, don't do that. I'll give you a better rate." And I'm like, "How?" And he just had a suitcase of the Argentine pesos, and I just exchanged in black there. I think a lot of people do because of the banking problems in Argentina. A lot of people do exchange like that. The other quick story about Argentina is that, and my advice to all of you is travel when you can, take the opportunity, because I missed an opportunity to visit Chile when I was there. I was near the west coast, the western border of Argentina, and I wanted to nip over to Santiago. I bought a plane ticket, and at the last minute, I decided not to go. I went ahead and went back to Buenos Aires, because I had a trip coming up after that trip in Argentina to China. And I thought, I'm so tired of traveling. My plan was just to nip over to Chile for one night so I could add that to my list. And make a long story short, I didn't go. And so I've never added Chile to my list. And it was an easy way to get that country on my list. And I wish I would have done it at the time. And also in Buenos Aires, I could have easily added Uruguay to my list because you can take a ferry over from Buenos Aires to Uruguay quite easily. And I'll get to my Turkey story. Lori, if you're still in here, Peter, you got Capital One. You live in England. You also Capital One. Are you American, Peter? Or are you English? Yeah, Lori, let me know your story. I'm gonna give you, or let me know where you were in Turkey, and I'll give you my. Here we go, Turkey, and I'll give you a story. Mr. Mike, yeah, Italian banks charge a fee, fees plus 2 to 3% for every withdrawal. That's probably your bank that's charging. Maybe, are you using a credit card to withdraw or your bank card? One bit of advice before traveling to all of you: before you travel anywhere abroad, I used to do it all the time. Now I think my bank knows that I can use my card anywhere in the world. But check with your bank before you travel to make sure there's no locks on your bank card, so that way you won't be in a foreign country and you can't use it at a foreign ATM or for foreign charges, and you're trying to sort that out. Everyone told you, Mike, to go to the post office in Naples to change money. Yeah, you can still do that in Italy. I've seen people in the post office here that way. 90 euros for 100. They offered 67. Yeah. The thing is just to be aware and be careful. Mr. Mike, where are you from in California, man? I used to live in California. The chat's going much faster than I can keep up, everybody. So sorry. I'm missing some chats here. Serbia, Marco Polo. That's cool. Currently, I'm working with a video editor. He's editing some of my new videos, and he lives in Serbia. And you're from the US. That's cool. I'd like to go to Serbia. That's one of the places that's on my list to go to. Peter, I'm also on the Travel Capital One credit card. I have the travel credit card, the Venture X card, and I get a lot of points on that for traveling. In fact, my plane ticket that I just bought to go to Barcelona at the end of May, I bought it all with points. So I really rack up a lot of points. Yeah. And David's coming in with some great advice. David does bike tours, Vista Cycling, Tuscany. He does bike tours here in Italy. He said there's a little guy with, this doesn't sound shady at all, on a side street between Palazzo Vecchio and the Uffizi Gallery. I'm not sure tourists is going to be trusting this guy that has a little booth set up. But yeah, probably a little exchange rate store is what David's referring to. Yeah, in Florence. You can always look out for those. You get worse exchange rates when you're at the airport. And I promise I'll get to this Turkey story 1 minute, Lori. That's cool. You get Capital One, Peter. That's great. Same in Spain's ATM. Use the ATMs. Exchange houses are ripoffs. Yeah, try to have a bank card that doesn't charge fees for foreign withdrawals, and then just pay the $2 to whatever the fee is on the ATM withdrawal. Or if you're in Thailand, that's what I was doing too. Marco, so it's Marco who's joining, not Ruth. Hey, Marco. Yeah, David, you're right. It's water. Turkey was not cheap. Also, a friend of mine, she was in Turkey, and she was just constantly hassled going around on her solo travel in Turkey. It was kind of annoying. You traveled around for 3.5 weeks in Turkey. That's great. Yeah, I see. Lori, do you have a travel channel on YouTube? Drop that channel down there. It's great. So does Capital One have a British bank base, and do they also have no fees on their credit cards for the bank? Excuse my ignorance, but let me know. In 2022, spent 5 weeks in Naples and Sicily. Yeah, love Palermo, my new favorite city. Sicily, down in the south, it is chaotic, madness, kind of dirty, gritty, unorganized. Everything's late all the time, even more so than other places in Italy. But it's the true Italy down there. It is like authentic Italy. It's like in my mind when I fantasize or romanticize about Italy back in like the 1920s or like in the 50s. I think that it must have been what it's like now in Rome and Naples and Palermo, those cities. You have your wits about you, because, you know, there's some dodgy people, some people that'll rip you off and things like that, or steal your wallet. But you'll get that anywhere in the world. But it's just so great. And the food is so great in the South. The food is so great. Also, Puglia. Talk about Puglia. I'm going to be revamping my Puglia videos. So if you haven't seen my big Puglia video, go watch that. You'll understand why I love the south of Italy for traveling, for eating. Definitely not for living. It's too chaotic down there. Although if I had the time, I would really spend some time in Naples. I think Naples would be worth living for like a couple of months. Louise, thank you for joining. Louise, where are you from? Let me know in the comments. Let me know where you're from. What about Milan? First time there in November. Awesome. Weather could be kind of grim in Milan in November. Some great places to hit up there. Go climb up to the top of the Duomo. Go see the Last Supper. What's it called? The Galleria Vittorio Emanuele. Go to the high street shopping. Go to the big theater house there, the Scala. Go to the Milano Reserve, Starbucks Reserve, and hang out there. It's Italy's first Starbucks, you know, so you got to pay homage to the mermaid. I love coffee. I try to have my last one at 1 o'clock every day. Let's talk about Turkey and my Turkey story. Lori, I promised this. Lori, who has no channel, but she's got her Instagram. Yeah, Instagram. David, Vista Cycling's really got an Instagram channel. He's really hitting that up all the time with Tuscany photos and cycling stuff. My Turkey story, crazy. So at the time when the first and only time I've ever visited Turkey, I think it was five years ago. We're gonna get to 60 minutes and then we're gonna wrap this up. And we're at 51. So if you have any questions, we got 8 minutes to go. Cool, you're from Brazil. Awesome. It's one of the places I've yet to visit down in South America. Thanks, Luis, for joining in on it. If you have any questions, hit me up in the chat. Turkey story, real quick. It was about 5 years ago or something. The U.S. and I guess it's Erdogan or something in Turkey, like things were really kind of heating up, and they revoked travel privileges for U.S. citizens. Turkey, it's kind of part of the European Union, but not on all sorts of levels. They do allow European citizens to just travel into Turkey with their ID cards. And so at the time, I still had an ID card from Italy that was non valido all'estero, not valid abroad. And it was stamped as such in the back. But my friends who were already in Turkey said, well, just try coming in on that, because you can't use your US. It really happened the night before. You can't use your passport to come in into Turkey right now, your US passport. And I didn't have an Italian passport at the time, or an official Italian ID card, which I now have. So I did. I traveled to Turkey, got to the border immigration, showed them my paper. We had paper. In the day I had a paper ID card. Showed it to them. They looked at it. He didn't flip it over where it says non valido all'estero, but they probably didn't read Italian anyway, and they let me in the country. So I didn't use my passport to enter. Then leaving Turkey, I was on a flight from Istanbul to somewhere in China, and I was checking in on the flight with my friend. I was leaving the country with my passport. We were both on the same flight. We both go up. I put my bag on the conveyor belt. We hand her both of our passports. She checks him in first. And I said, but that's my bag. And my bag went off. She said, okay. And then she goes to check me in. And then she goes, well, you're not on the flight. And I said, well, my bag? And I couldn't get on the flight. My bag had gone on the flight. My bag, they said they had to put an emergency stop on the flight and to get my bag off the flight. And I had to wait from the airport to get my bag, like 5 hours. Then I went back to a hotel. And then the next day, 24 hours later, I flew to China. Excuse me, no, my bag did go on the flight. I didn't get my bag. It went on the flight to China 24 hours ahead of me. Then it got lost in airports in China for like 3 or 4 days. And I was moving around in China at the time. So it was hard to get my bag, and I had to sign a lot of forms, do faxes, or send email copies of my passport before I could get my luggage back. And when I finally was reunited, it's that orange Samsonite hard shell case I travel with still. That thing is a bomb. It's been through so much with me. I'm emotionally attached to that. So drop your questions in. We're about ready to wrap this up. About 5 or 10 more minutes to go. Como vai, Luis? Tutto born. Marco Polo speaks a little bit of Portuguese. Rock on, Marco. Obrigado. Thank you. I've been to Portugal. That's Lisbon. Lisbon is so cool. But I don't know much Portuguese. But I do love Superbach. Who doesn't love a good Superbach? Sitting up there on the terrace in one of the Lisbon little peaks and just like drinking a Superbach, watching the sun go down over the water. I mean, Lisbon is a super cool place. If you've been to Lisbon, let me know it down in the chat. I need to wet the whistle. Turkey was the first trip taken this year, last 6-week trip to Europe. Lori, where are you from? Your last 6-week Europe was canceled, killed when I ended up in the hospital. Bummed out. Yeah, health. You gotta always put health first, and it can really put a damper on things. I've had some tibia issues. I had a stress fracture in my tibia recently, and that sucks, and that really limited me. Also, I had a problem with my shoulder recently as well. Had a couple of cortisone injections, also an injection of liquid cocaine that relaxed all the muscles there in my shoulder. Yeah, crazy times. And in my train video from Florence to Siena, if anybody watches that train video, it was probably at one of the times when my leg was at its worst. I was limping all throughout that video. You can see me going around like this with my tibia and a stress fracture. I shouldn't have been walking. Yeah, Lisbon has tons of hills. So Lori, you've been to Portugal as well. It does. And you got to, of course, take the tram. You got to take a tram ride around Lisbon. I forget the famous tram. Well, I think it's the number 2 tram that circles Lisbon. It was this time in 2022 in June, I went to Lisbon. Also, we're going to have to start to wrap this up because I think the battery on this Canon R6 is going to go dead here soon. I'm running off of battery power. If everybody's loving the chat, let me know. I may do some of these in the future. Really appreciate you guys all joining in. Drop the little, I think you can click the little, click the little emoji down there. Give me some love. Give me some hearts. Come on. Number 28 tram in Lisbon. You got it. You got it, Lori. Check me out on my Instagram, Gregor Brown 1. Go spam Gregor Brown, but I'm Gregor Brown 1. I got a lot of photos in there. Come on, give me some love down here in the comments, guys, before we wrap this thing out. Yeah, glad you enjoyed it, Peter. And I appreciate, always popping in. Come to South Africa. I would love to come to South Africa. Never have been. I've heard great things, and I've watched the best ever food review show. Sony, he did some great videos down in Africa and in South Africa on food down there. I just really loved it. Look at all the love down there in the chat. Johannesburg, I'd love to visit. In Africa, I've been to Egypt up in the north, and I've been to Rwanda as well. I've been to Kenya. So I'll try to do some more of these chats, Peter, I need to be better prepared next time when I do it. Any quick questions? We can do rapid fire. If you get quick questions, I'll drop them in. Travel questions, food questions, anything you need to know. I have years of experience. Smash that like button. Hit me up with some love. Go check out all my videos. If you didn't watch tonight, the premiere of that local train video. I edited that video myself. I'm starting to work with an editor now from Serbia, who should be pretty cool. He's already edited 2 videos that haven't been released yet. If you want to become a channel member, you get customized emojis, and you can also get access to see the new videos before they're out to the general public. So do that. I'm going to be releasing some merch. I'm thinking about some t-shirts. And maybe some tumbler mugs as well coming out soon, so you can support me that way and get some fun travel gear as well, you know, to have around. Yeah, Lori, Peter, Mike, Surfy, thanks for joining in. Louise as well. Any last minute questions? Drop them in. Louise, did you have any questions for me? ATM machines, try to get a bank card that doesn't have fees when you're traveling abroad. That'll save you a lot of money. If you're going to pay the fee at the ATM, the best thing you do is withdraw large chunks at once, because you're going to have to usually pay a one-time fee anyway. Keep some cash in one of your luggage bags and keep some cash in another bag. That way, if you lose your bag or someone steals your money, you'll have that other cash in that other bag. Also, another bit of advice that I always try to typically do, but I recently forgot, in Thailand, they give you your money before you give your card back from the machine. So twice it happened to me in Thailand where I left my card on the machine, and then after like 1 minute, after 30 seconds, it takes the card back, and I had to go to the bank and try to get my card back. One time they gave me my card back, and one time they didn't give me my card back. Always carry cash. Cash is king. Although many times now you can use credit cards, like in a lot of places around the world. Even here in Italy, you can even pay for a cappuccino now with a credit card. In Thailand, definitely though, you need cash. In Vietnam, it's really kind of a cash society. In Singapore, you can get away with credit card everywhere. Yeah, Peter. Yeah, lots of love out to England, and I don't know how you people live in England. It's tough up there, but pretty when the sun shines. A lot of love out there. And Mr. Surfy, yeah, thank you, man. I'd love to take you up on that and come to South Africa sometime soon. Mr. Mike, going to spend 4 weeks in Italy in 2023, Northwest. Any recommendations on city to use as a base in the Northwest? Torino. Use it as a base. If you're up in the Northwest, definitely. It's got to be Torino. You can try Cuneo as well. Keep in mind, driving around there, and Val d'Aosta is really expensive for fees and such, and driving around. But yeah, base yourself in Torino. You'll really love it. Super modern city for Italy. Good organization. And up in the Northwest in Piedmont, you get great food up there. You get great food anywhere in Italy. The risottos are good up there. The wines, the Barolos, the Barbarescos. Go tour some vineyards. I recommend that. Get up there into the Alps. Do some hiking as well. There's quite a bit. There's a lot of nature things to do if you're a nature lover. When did you say you're going? In 2023. You didn't mention what time of the year. I'm not a fan of snow. I don't like winters. I do like going up into the mountains in the summertime and hiking, but I'm not a fan of snow and cold weather. So so give me some love down in the chat. That's why you love Italy. There's no sun in England. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining the live chat. Thank you for saying hello. If I couldn't get to your questions this time, Lori, I have some new people here I've never spoken with before. I don't think I've seen your names in the comments section on the videos. Always drop some comments. I try to answer all the comments that you have in all the videos. Drop some comments down there. Sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done so, because I'm dropping all sorts of travel tips and hacks in the newsletter, some exclusive videos as well sometimes. Become a channel member if you want. There's custom emojis in there. You get early access to the videos, and just watch the videos, share them with your friends, and a lot of love in those videos. Really, thanks again, everybody, for joining the chat, and see you next time.